Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the Aspen Short Handled Set. We're going to be painting some mushrooms. Should be fun. Let's get started. I'm going to be using a 9 by 12 inch canvas here. This is the Strathmore canvas that I have painted black. This is carbon black, but any black or dark color will do for this project. And I'm going to use my Aspen Short Handled Set here to paint in our little project today. I think I'm going to do some mushrooms. I've got some brushes already out of the package over here that I'll be using. And I think I want to do kind of a vignette style, so maybe something that kind of makes a large oval around the canvas. Maybe we can put like a little moon or something over here in this area, and then some large leaves coming out, and our mushroom large in the center here somewhere, maybe. Mushrooms are fun because they're come in so many variety of shapes and sizes, and kind of really easy to draw. It's just like mostly, now, you know, they're all different, but mostly kind of like a large kind of trunk, and then sort of an oval cap or rounded cap there. And I'm doing kind of an oval so we can see on the inside there, and that stem is coming up inside, so we'd erase that part right there. Okay, and then let's have some little mosses and things coming out around the sides, and maybe some smaller little mushrooms staying really low down here, growing in a little cluster. And we can do some different colors or things, maybe a flower, some larger leaves. Let's do some like snowdrops or something like that. So maybe we'd have some little flowers coming out and dropping down to create some interesting areas. Maybe up here we'll have some berries or things, and some leaves. I'm just using regular chalk here too for our drawing, so I can change it out if I need to, move things around. Okay, that looks cute. I like that so far. So let's make this like a little fern type of thing. So we'll do like little leaves coming out like that. Maybe some more here. Maybe these are just like some more berries or something. Maybe something coming up here, some leaves or something. Fill in this area. All right, let's try that and see what we think. Might start out with some splattering so that we've got some stars in the background. So it looks kind of like a starry sky, and I think I'll just use my Filbert for that. And I'm going to go over our paint colors here too. So we've got carbon black, burnt umber, burnt sienna, yellow oxide, cadmium yellow light, cadmium red light, quinacridone magenta, ultramarine blue, cobalt teal, phthalo green, yellow shade, green gold, unbleached titanium, titanium white. So I'm going to get some white and some water, really water this down. If you have a fan brush, you could use that too. This should work just fine. We can kind of test it by tapping it. There we go. Okay. You want to tap down towards the canvas. And keep it mostly in this upper area here, I think. And any of them that get in areas where you don't want, you can just use your paper towel Just dab those off. But down in here is fine. I'm going to get the foreground, and I'm going to get some white here. And pick up some of that fluid white that I was using to splatter. You always want to add a little bit extra water when you're using a round brush. Just helps the paint flow off the brush a little bit easier. And let's go ahead and just fill in our moon. I'm just going to use a round object and use it to kind of help mark the outside of my circle. So I'm just going to run that brush right along the edge there. That'll kind of give me a starting point. Probably going to take a couple of coats here to get it to cover this black, but that's okay. All right, let me get some of my green gold and some burnt sienna. Maybe a little bit of white. I'm going to use that to do my stems on my berries. And then I'm going to use it to just kind of do some little random grasses and things along the bottom. And start kind of filling in that area. I'm going to get my Filbert and some green gold and unbleached titanium and some phthalo green. The green gold just has yellow in it, so if you don't have it, you can use a phthalo green or something and add some yellow to it. I'm going to get a little bit of the unbleached titanium and the yellow oxide, maybe a little bit of burnt sienna. And I just want to make kind of a darker greenish mossy color. And let's use it to do some of these leaves here. Up and around, sort of in the background of my mushroom. We'll add highlights to these, so we want to keep them fairly dark for now. And I'm just using that edge of that brush to kind of create these little leafy shapes. Along the border. Now let's use a more turquoisey color. So I'm going to get some of my, I haven't cleaned out my brush at all. I'm going to get some of the blue, Cobalt Teal, and Ultramarine Blue. Mix my green into that. And let's do some little smaller leaves with this. And I'm going to dab that around as well. And maybe use it up here just to have a separate variety of green happening. Okay, for this tall one here, this large fern, I think I'll go with more of just a medium green, maybe a little bit of burnt sienna with my phthalo green. And I'm going to go ahead and use this brush as well and do a nice long line for the center of my fern. And then I think I'm going to use a little bit of white with this just to make it show up against that black. And I kind of start with just like a little dot at the tip. Some smaller brush strokes. And then getting bigger as I come down around. Keep the edge kind of rounded, I think. Just press down and pull in. And they can overlap a little bit. It'll look better if they're kind of separated out in different sizes, maybe getting a little bit bigger as they come down. Some of them touching, some of them not. Yeah, that's cute. Something like that. Might make these a little bit bigger and just kind of going underneath my mushroom there. And then I think I'm going to use some of this color over here just to balance it out. So maybe I'll use it in these snowdrops here as the stem color for those. And maybe some little leafy green here. Something like that. All right, then I'm going to go back in there and get some more white. I'm just going to dab a little bit of the white on the tips. Just set it down and kind of lift to create some little dry brushed highlights. You can go darker than or brighter than you think you need to here. We can always go darker again, but acrylics dry a little bit darker than they go on, so these will probably dry just about right, even though it looks pretty bright right now. And get a little bit more of that darker turquoisey green and maybe add a little bit of that in. And just make sure that that stem is highlighted all the way down. Okay. Let's get some green gold and some white. Add it to this mossy green that we did before. And just throw some highlights on some of these leaves here. You don't have to put it on all of them, but Just a few of them. It's a really nice contrast with that more bluish green that we did before here, to have this yellow green. You can always switch to a smaller brush if you want to. You could use your round brush for this, or the angle brush, which we'll be using here in a minute. Okay, I'm going to put a few little grassy bits, maybe some moss. So I'm just going to use that brush and tap to create some little fluffy moss-like bits. That's looking really good. I'm going to go back to my round brush and put in my little berries here. I think I'm going to do them in red, maybe some blue, or I think I might make these. Let me think of my colors here for a minute. So I think I'm going to make this mushroom to be kind of a yellowish orange. So maybe we'll do these ones, these berries in blue, and these ones over here in red, and then do these flowers with some blue in them, and then maybe some white or some pink down here. We'll see. Or maybe these white and these blue. Just trying to kind of think about my color. Okay, so I want to do the berries up top there, blue. So I'm going to get my ultramarine blue. Whoop. It's getting into the magenta there. That's okay. Ultramarine blue and some cobalt teal. That'll just make kind of a more neutral blue. Ultramarine blue is kind of purple leaning. Get some white there to help make it more opaque on that black background. And I'm going to add a little bit of burnt umber to gray it out so that it's not so vivid. Okay, let's try that and see if that shows up well for us. And I think that'll work. We'll have room to add highlights here, and then we can come back in and also add some darker color too. Right now it's kind of making a triangle shape, so I want to break that up, and I think I'll put one out, kind of out here maybe, to help break up that silhouette. I think I'm going to make these little guys down here blue. I think I'm going to do more saucer shaped ones, kind of flat and elongated, just to give a different shape. Yeah, that'll be cute. I'm going to get some of that ultramarine blue and maybe a little magenta. Go in with the stems there. Add a little bit of that darker color in to shadow it, and then we'll come back in and highlight those here in a little bit. Okay, once we get most of that background done, we can work on our main shape here. I think I might want to put some tall grasses or something in the middle here just so that it's not all on its own. I don't know, because I don't want to have to put those in later. So I might go with a kind of a neutral color, maybe some teal with some unbleached titanium and burnt sienna. Similar to this color, but a little bit more neutral, so more grayed out. Might even add a little bit of black to it. Okay. And I think I'm just gonna do some little random grassy shapes just to kind of fill out sort of in the middle area here. Just small. I'm not making them very noticeable because I don't want them to be attracting attention. I just want to kind of fill in that area so it doesn't look so sparse. Okay, that looks good. All right, let's fill in our little pumpkin here, or our pumpkin, our little, it's fall. A little mushroom here. I'm going to go ahead and use my 8 flat for that. And I'm going to make kind of an orangey color. I think I'll use my yellow oxide and a little bit of the red there, cadmium red. Maybe a little bit of burnt sienna just to tone it down so that it's more neutral. Oop, got a little yellow there, that's okay. I'm going to make a little bit extra of it because I know I'm going to need it. Okay, that's a nice neutral orange. Let me go right over the top of my fern there. If this does not cover for you, then you can add a little bit of white to your paint. White will help the paint go on in this dark background, cover a little bit better. I will probably need a couple coats to get a good smooth coat on here. And I'm going to do a little bit more yellow down toward the bottom of the mushroom here. So I'm going to get a little bit of white in my yellow. Yellow oxide. And I still have this orange in my brush, so I'm just mixing it in. Maybe a little bit more of the cadmium yellow too. And just kind of pull up with that into that area there. Okay, it's going to look pretty streaky right now because it's trying to dry. So we'll just leave it, let it dry completely, and then we can put our second coats in there and it'll smooth it out. Okay, like those colors. Let's go ahead and fill in underneath. I'm going to add some burnt umber to this gold orangey color. Maybe a little bit of ultramarine blue. just go in with a neutral brown under here. Yeah, just think about where that's going to come out there. So let's go ahead and do a yellow for the stem. I'm going to go a little bit lighter than what we had before, so I'm going to get that unbleached titanium and some of that yellow oxide and cadmium yellow light there. Now we'll have to shadow it up there, so don't worry about that right now. We'll get it looking good. But for now, we just want to get some color on this stem. Get right up in that corner and smooth that out. Give it a little bit of a wiggle there, just so it's got a little bit of a curve. Okay, that looks good. And then down here, I'm just going to bring up some grasses and things in front, so I don't need to worry about that right now. You can kind of blend it down into what I've already got, but I'm going to get some brown here, I think, and just add that and dab that over at the base of this to kind of fill that in, just using the corner of the brush. Let's fill in the bottom of that mushroom with some brown, and let's do the same over here. Just add it in a couple other places, so it's not the only place that's got that color. And then I'm going to get a little bit of it, actually get a little bit darker color here, maybe a little bit of my green gold, my yellow oxide. And I'm going to dry brush some dark shadows in here. Get a little bit darker than that. I'm going to set that down, make sure that this is dry, set it down, and kind of just pull down. They kind of come out this way. I'll just put a second coat in here for now. It's not really wanting to cover right now. It might be a little bit damp still. There we go. All right, let's do a second coat on here. This is dry. I'm gonna get my burnt sienna and some of that cadmium red. And go a little bit brighter this time on the very top. Just gonna tap to blend out. Once I'm out of color here, I'm just gonna kind of dry brush it down into the bottom area. Feather that color out. Okay. And then I'm going to get some yellow oxide and some white. Maybe a little bit of cadmium yellow light. And pick up some of that red that I just did. So it makes it kind of a peachy yellow here. I'm going to set it down along this side here and pull up. And flick it as I pull up. And it will create that kind of nice dry brush effect. Okay. And right along the edge there, I'm going to get a little bit more of the white and just kind of tap it along the edge with the tip of this brush. Create a little highlight. Cute. And then there's little spots, so I'm going to get some of that medium color here, maybe a little bit more yellow. And use the corner of the brush, or I could use my round brush at this point, but I'm just going to use this since I already have it going. And use that and kind of drag and draw in some little spots. And then down here, I can get them a little bit lighter. Okay. Cute. Let me get my round brush and some of this lighter color. I'm going to add a little bit of my yellow oxide to it. Maybe a little bit of this brown that we were using underneath here. Twist that to a point so it's got a nice little point. I'm just going to draw some little lines coming up in my mushroom down here. And then as they come up here, they're going to kind of come up like this. So curve them there and then sort of meet up with these ones that are going straight up in. Like that. Okay. Now let's shadow under here. So I'm going to get my 4-angle bright, make sure this is dry. And I'm going to use this brown that was over here. And just kind of go across right there. Shadow that area right there. And then pull that color down some. It should be almost the same darkness, but not quite. Get a little bit more of that dim color and give it a second coat here. And then right where they meet, I'm going to kind of mix the two colors together and pull down. Maybe some of that darker color is coming down the side here. Okay. And then I'm going to go a little bit darker right at the top, so I'm just going to get a little bit of that burnt umber color and just kind of go across the top there. Darken that off right there. All right, let's highlight these little guys here in our berries. I'm going to get some blue on my corner of my brush. And I'm just going to use the tip and draw in some little semicircles and then dab it kind of towards the middle. And then I'm going to get some more of that blue that I used for the blueberries, but maybe go a little bit brighter with the ultramarine blue this time. And come from the opposite and do a little bit darker color underneath. And blend it into that white that I just put on. Good. Now let me get some more of that light blue here on the tip of my brush, and I'm just going to run it right along the top of that mushroom there. Always thinking about where my light's coming from, so it's going to be coming from the moon in this one. Maybe just kind of highlighting the tip there that's sticking out towards us. So right along the rim there might be a little highlight. Right in the middle. And then right at the top. Really bright little highlight on each one of those. Right, let's put our little snowdrops and our red berries and we'll be done. I'm gonna get some, I think, Cobalt Teal and burnt Sienna for the snowdrops. Gonna start out with a gray and then add the white on top. Okay, so they're gonna kind of droop down. I don't have a reference photo of this, so I'm just guessing. I'm trying to remember what they look like, but I think this is kind of lily of the valley sort of shape, right? Maybe I'll do another one like right here. And maybe a little bud. Okay, I'm going to get my brush here and make sure I have little stems out to all of those. So I'm going to get some of the green, phthalo green and white, maybe a little bit of burnt sienna, and kind of put a little dab at the very top of where they are attaching. Okay, looks good. Let's get my, let's go ahead and use that and make a red with the magenta and the cadmium red light. Maybe a little bit of white. Maybe a little burnt sienna to neutralize it so it's closer to this orangey red here. These could be berries too, or like raspberry shapes or something like that. Might be cute too. Be curious to see what you guys paint with these. What you decide to do. Could have done some tall spiky flowers here too, maybe. And I think I'm gonna put a couple out, so kind of breaks up the shape a little bit, and then maybe put a few leaves out here too. Get some of that, maybe a little bit of blue with this. Maybe do some little leaves with my berries. When I'm coming upward. It's kind of fun. Put a few of these little leafy bits down here. I'm going to get some of my yellow and my green gold. Just mixing into this yellow that we were already using with our pumpkin here, and I'm going to use it on some of these leaves here. I'm going to go back to my angle brush and get some more white here and maybe a little bit of yellow and fill in the rest of this moon here with that. Give it just this tiny bit of yellow glow. And then I'm going to wipe most of that out of my brush, and I'm going to just use it to scumble a little bit of dry brush or a little bit of a haze around the moon here. Just kind of using that brush. You need to get most of that color out so that it's just barely attaching color to the canvas. It's going to pull the color right off the canvas. And I'm following the shape of the object so that I'm going to get this kind of hazy halo effect right around my moon. And I'm going to get some more white. Spray my paints so they don't dry out. This is just water. And get a little bit more white. And I'm just going to kind of dab it on. The moon has those kind of patterns in it, so you could get some gray in it too, and kind of put a few little dabs of gray around it if you want to. I got the color of that moon drop. Okay, just to give it a little bit more than just a solid white there. Gives it a little bit of interest. I think that's working. And then let's get some more of this and some of the burnt umber. Some of them burnt umber and magenta, and maybe some of the red. Just make more of that red, but make it a little bit darker this time. And give these a second coat. I think they're dry. Kind of go in the bottom half. Okay, that's good. And I think I want to use some of this color down here because there's none of this color anywhere else. So I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit more of that brighter red with the magenta. And I'm just going to pop it in a couple places, just little dots and dabs. These little fillers will kind of catch the eye, but I'm not going to cluster them too close together so that they're not going to be too noticeable. But you'll just kind of have that balance of color with them over in a few other places. Okay, that looks good. All right, I think I'm going to go back to the round brush and get some white and mix it in with my red. Maybe get a little bit of the yellow oxide, make it a little bit more peachy. I'm going to put a little bit of that. On the tip of my red berries. Then I can go back in with even brighter and just kind of touch off little bright highlights. Kind of went a little too much there. Some of them, blend them out a little bit. Okay, there we go. Right, and then I could also use those on my little red dots that are down here too, on just a few of them. Okay. Let's add some color to our snowdrops. So I'm going to get my white, or not color I should say, just highlights. I'm going to get my white, and I'm going to go back over these now and shape out these snowdrops. That's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Having that darker color in there helps this show up. Let me get a little bit of that darker color and I'm going to add so some of these maybe do a little bit more neutral, like these ones down here. Maybe do a couple petals with a medium color. Grab that color that we did the background of them, that cobalt teal and burnt sienna color, and then just added some white to it so that some of them have a little bit of different color in there. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and give the stems of those guys here a little color. I'm going to get some of that ultramarine blue with this white, maybe a little bit of the magenta too, burnt sienna or burnt umber, just to neutralize it a little bit. And I'm just going to go down here on top of the stems, give them a little highlight so they show up a little bit better. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and wipe off our chalk marks and we can see what we've got for our paint colors. This is just a wet paper towel here. Try not to go over my areas that are still wet. So okay. Really cute. I'm going to clean up this edge of this mushroom here. It's kind of wonky, so I'm going to get some of the unbleached titanium and white and some of the yellow oxide, I think, and maybe just add some little streaks down in the stem. Give it a little bit of detail there. Some yellow, a little bit brighter yellow here. And I'm going to come up around right here and just kind of clean up that area and add a few little lines along that edge where I did that lighter color. And then use some of that darker color, maybe add a little bit of burnt sienna and come along the bottom edge here and kind of tap in just a slight highlight along that bottom edge. And I'm just tapping with the brush, so I'm getting kind of a broken line there. Okay, that looks good. I can use some of these to draw in some lines in my stem too. at the bottom here, I think I just want to put a few little lichen, like mosses and things. So I'm going to get some white and my Ultramarine Blue and my Cobalt Teal. Maybe a little bit of burnt umber to just neutralize it slightly. I'm going to use this round brush. I'm just going to kind of loosely just dab and twist as I paint. And add a few little mosses coming out, dragging down in some places. Okay, and then we can do the same thing with our green gold and add some moss with the green gold. I sort of just tapping a few little dabs here and there. This will kind of pull some of this yellow down into our bottom area here too. Let's add a few little stem details. So I'm going to get some of the green. I still had that green gold in my brush. I grabbed some burnt umber here. I'm going to add some little stem or lines to my leaves. Okay. And if you want to get real fancy, you could put a little snail or something on there, but I think I'm going to call that good. And sign it. So we use my brush here to sign it. I'll just use some of this gray that I was just using. And I'm just going to choke way up on it so that I can get in here and sign. Here we go. Cute little mossy. Mossy mushrooms. Add a few leaves up here now that I'm seeing this. A few little leaves around my berries there. I think I put too many. Let me do that again. There we go. Just add a few little leaves around my berries to finish it off. All right, and there's our finished project. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you want to find out more about the Aspen Short Handled Set, you can find links down in the description for where to buy it. It's a great little set, and thank you to Princeton for letting me curate this set. It's kind of a dream come true. It's really been fun. If you want to see more of my tutorials, you can check out my website at thankfulart.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.